From the massive studios in Raleigh, North Carolina, this is the Cloudcast with Aaron Delp and Bryan Gracely, presented by A Cloud Guru, bringing you the best of cloud computing from around the world.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to the Cloudcast. We are coming to you not from the massive Cloudcast studios in Raleigh today, but we're coming to you today from a slightly different location, actually a slightly different format for the next couple of shows. We had an opportunity here over the last couple of months to work with the TechStars program, who many of you know are being around the startup community, really getting some companies started, helping some companies get better mentoring, better networking. And TechStars got together with MetLife Insurance, which is based here in Cary, North Carolina, or has a large technology facility here in Cary, North Carolina, which is just outside of Raleigh. And the two of them have been working on a sort of a corporate partnership to look at entrepreneurial ways to really redefine and disrupt the insurance industry. So we had an opportunity to work with the TechStars team as they had selected 10 companies out of many, many companies that applied to the program. And we had an opportunity to sit down with a number of them, actually 6 of the companies. We're going to introduce those to you over the next 2 shows. So we're going to have 3 companies per show over the next 2 weeks. And we're going to introduce you to some startups, some founders. We're going to introduce you to some companies that are just getting started, some that are looking to move into their growth phase, others that are launching a second and third product because they're an existing company. And we really feel like this is going to be an interesting way for you to get some behind-the-scenes look at how do these tech incubators work, what are the founders thinking, and we got a chance to sit down with them in an early stage in this process. It's a 3-month process that the companies go through, and at the end of it, there's a whole sort of demo day process in which they sort of repitch themselves to potentially new venture capitalists or other partners that are out there. So hope you guys enjoy this format. Like I said, we're going to introduce to you 3 different companies in each of the next 2 shows. The interviews are going to run about 10 or 12 minutes each company, so the overall show is going to be a normal length Cloudcast, 30, 35 minutes, so don't get freaked out by that. But I think you're going to enjoy this. They are not necessarily going into the in-depth cloud tech that we usually do, but I think you're going to enjoy learning about these founders, learning about these companies. Every single one of these is something that could be applicable to your regular life, as insurance applies to a lot of the things we do on a day-to-day basis. But, really interesting to see how they're attacking different aspects of parts of your life that may involve insurance or risk or, accident avoidance or health improvement and so forth. So hope you enjoy this. We're going to get started with a company called Buddy. And Buddy really focuses on on-demand accident insurance. So they're really focused on that weekend warrior that wants to go out mountain biking, the person that wants to go to a water park with their kids, and maybe just wants to make sure that, if something happens, they're going to be properly covered. So they provide, very short-term type of insurance. And it's an interesting business model, and we hope you enjoy it. All right, so we're going to kick this off with Charles Merritt, founder, CEO of Buddy, iambuddy.com. You guys are going after a very interesting space that I know a lot of our listeners will have an interest in just because they're active people. You guys are going after the sort of insurance market or protection market for people that want to do outdoor things, want to do extreme sports. First off, tell us about yourself.
Sure.
You're a UNC guy. You're wearing a UNC hat, so we love the background from the area. But tell us about your passion for getting Buddy started.
Yeah, Buddy is really born out of not just my experience, but it's the passions of our entire team. We've got a great group of folks who are technologists, insurance brokers, data scientists, underwriters, and the thing that unifies us is really our love of the outdoors and getting out there and doing stuff that keeps us fit and keeps us engaged with who we are.
Right.
So right now, we've got one of my teammates is training for 2 marathons that she's about to run, which just makes me cringe inside. And I used to work in New York. When I left, I packed up a bag and soloed 700 miles on the AT, and that was really, a not necessarily a transformative experience, but a clarifying experience for me.
Yeah.
And it was that I personally need to be connected to things that are a little wilder than concrete jungles to really be happy and get meaning in life.
Right.
So when we thought about what we could do with our skill set to really support our outdoor passions, we realized that ourselves and our peers were experiencing this pain all of a sudden, which is that it's now like thousands of dollars if you get hurt and go to the ER for stuff that's pretty basic injuries, broken arms, all that kind of thing. And it's really driven by high deductible, high copay health insurance. And that's a pain that I think is now universally being felt. I watched it with both of my parents in the last few years. They have had bike wrecks and gone to the hospital. And it's nasty. So we figured we could put together a new type of insurance product. We could go talk to the community to make sure that we're helping people manage risk appropriately. And the traits of that product were that it had to be fast and light, right? Just like our favorite outdoor gear.
Yeah, exactly.
So we wanted insurance you could buy just for the day for an event, for a vacation, or for folks like us who are doing something almost every day of the week. You want to go ahead and get a monthly recurring plan or an annual plan to make sure you're always covered and you don't have to think about it. Yeah,
and I mean, there's a part of me talking to everybody who's part of this program that there's a insurance is always traditionally thought of as like this big thing, big stuffy companies, but you're competing against really big companies that have established bases and established financial models and so forth. But I feel like the world has become a place where we have so many things that are just an app on our phone that we're used to this idea that there's a thing that I use that's for a specific part of my life, like Uber is a specific part of my life and certain things. So walk me through like the thought process, because obviously things are still evolving, but like do I click on my buddy app like right before I jump on my bike to go pedal? Do I have to think about this a day in advance, or a month before my family goes to Hawaii and wants to go parasailing? Like, just kind of walk us through the thought process of how people should interact with you.
Sure. So we're really looking at two ways that people can find us. One is that we're trying to partner with awesome brands who provide the experiences that we all love. So when you're signing up for a lift ticket, when you're checking out for a race, or whether it's an adventure race, bike race, whatever.
Okay, so this is going to be part of the activity you're doing anyways.
We're going to be part of that registration process. So the way that you would go get travel insurance when you're buying a flight ticket, we have you insurance for fun stuff.
Okay.
And then we're also working on direct channels. So I come from a background in the world of travel tech and e-commerce, and so we're thinking about what the customer experience needs to be when you want to come to us, when you are aware that, hey, here's this awesome outdoor brand about risk management, which, that sounds kind of weird to say today, but we're going to make it happen. So when people come to us, we want to make sure that, we have a clear, fast way for them to get covered. And then we're also beginning to experiment with conversational interface and conversational commerce. So we have our own chatbot engine that's dedicated to selling and managing insurance products. And we think that messaging is actually a great format for insurance because it's lightweight. Downloading an insurance company app feels like the wrong interaction. When it's like, hey, here's who I am and what I'm up to. Like, can you just cover me for the day? So sending that message is super fast, and we think that that's a channel that we can be leaders in because we can be nimble and iterate quickly and test and learn, and we don't have to get 1,000 people in a giant organization to sign off on it.
Yeah, when I was first digging into the company, the immediate thing that came to mind was there was a movie called Along Came Polly, where Ben Stiller had to go figure out if this crazy CEO was worth the risk, and he wanted to do base jumping and stuff. And I was like, it's a little bit like that. So you guys obviously have to figure out on a fairly fast basis, like especially people are doing stuff that is highly risky, or at least in theory highly risky. How do you figure out the great mountain bikers from the average mountain bikers, or talk just a tad about the technology that has to sort out how you do risk management?
I'll frame that up this way. When we think about the people we're covering, we're thinking about the person. So that mountain biker may be doing some downhill mountain biking activity today. They may also be going for a long run 5 times a week, and they go mountain biking once or twice a month at the downhill slope. So for us, it was more interesting to try to figure out simple, understandable price points that could cover people for a variety of activities, as opposed to thinking on day one, like, we've got the right data, we've got this price granularly enough to be able to say you're mountain biking for 30 minutes, here's the exact price. So we've really taken a holistic approach to pricing. And from a standpoint of how we've done that, we've relied, on research that we've done into what causes people to go to the ER, and we've overlaid that with a lot of the participation data that are available. And what we found is that while you may look at something and say, yeah, that looks risky, it's not as risky as you might think quantitatively.
Right.
And the other thing that we know about our customers is that they spend a lot of time thinking about how to be safe doing the things that they love doing.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a lot of people out there trying to climb a multi-pitch route who haven't spent a ton of time thinking about whether or not their gear is in order,
right.
Whether they've trained properly, whether they've planned properly, whether they got the right beta from the guys who did it before, right? Like our customers generally, especially the ones who do the things that most of us look at, myself included, and are like, holy crap, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Those people have spent a ton of time making that thing that seems crazy to most of us much safer than it would be if I tried to go out there, and do something I'd never done before.
Right. How do you... obviously, anything new, there's a trust factor to it. People need to know who you are. If they get hurt, they want to know, how will my claim get filed and so forth. How do you work through those types of just general? I mean, obviously, there's no perfect answer to it, but how are you thinking about how do we do this in this space?
Yeah, building trust is hard. We today have a fantastic partner behind us. We're reinsured by Lloyd's of London.
Okay.
And they are, the originators in
right.
at least the Western world of modern insurance. They're about as reliable as it gets.
Right.
And they can trade on just their name, and that's great. So we're really excited to be able to partner with them. We also have worked early on to put together some local and regional partnerships who can help take us to market.
Yep.
And those are generally folks who we have existing relationships with on a personal basis who, the leap they're making is that we're going to continue to be the people that they know. And the receipt that we get from them is that, they lend us some brand equity. And it's not something we can do overnight.
Right.
And it's going to take time to both get that initial, relationship with a customer, but we also have to be awesome at over communicating, delivering a great service, and really going to bat when someone needs us to.
Right. Yeah. No. To me, that's of all the things that go on in the startup world, the most interesting thing amongst a lot of things is you look at sort of supply chains, so sort of between people that deliver a service and their customers, and that's all changing. So Lloyd's of London very well may go, look, we need to be able to have products for companies that have $1,000 problems versus $100 million problems. They can do that, but they don't know how to go talk to customers. They don't know how to design apps. They don't necessarily know how to build the trust. They don't. And to me, that's the interesting thing is you're going after a certain segment of that supply chain, and your focus is different than theirs. Yours is on trust. It's on understanding what these people love and how do you make it part of their day-to-day life and simple and so forth. So that part is very, very interesting to me.
Yep. And the way that we, at the end of the day, approach it is authenticity.
Yeah.
I mean, Jay on our team, he's raced Xterra, he's climbed on 5 continents, he whitewater paddles, and he's got this amazing resume. I referred earlier to Brittany, who's training for 2 marathons right now. We are our customers,
right.
So we can go hang out and get dirty and have no problem living out of a van. We're going on a retreat here with the entire TechStars class, and the buddy team is going to be sleeping on our thermarests because there's not enough beds in the place we're going, and we're that's fine. We don't care.
That's where we'll sleep.
We can sleep outside if you need us to. It doesn't matter.
Very cool.
And so we are our customer, and so it makes it really easy to have an authentic relationship.
Yeah, we always find that the people who we never can guarantee success to the people that we talk to on the show, but the people who essentially have built things that they're like, look, if I was on the other side of the coin here, if I wasn't building this, but I was using it, this is what I would build. Or we essentially built it because we needed something like that. So very cool that you sort of live it. I think it gives you authenticity as you're talking to people, but it also just gives you an insight when you're going like, what's the next feature we build? What's the next thing that we would want, the next step that we would sort of make? And so that's all very cool. We're gonna kind of wrap this up a little bit real quick. What's the it's a couple weeks into the TechStars experience. For anybody that's like, hey man, what's it like being
about?
an incubator? Like, how's it been so far?
I have a couple of really great colleagues who preceded me through TechStars, so I got some inside feedback. And I think the program has far exceeded my expectations, even with that prior knowledge.
Yeah.
The team here, MJ, Brad, and the rest of the folks on the associate team have not only made things run so seamlessly that when they ask me, they're like, "Hey, is everything okay?" Like, I haven't even thought about that, right? Like, I'm so focused on the velocity with which we're moving through the program and with which we're moving on our business, that all of the logistical stuff that they're doing so well just appears seamless. And the value that they've added has been, I can't imagine how long it would have taken us to reach out to the network and the mentorship that they brought in. Yeah. So, to date, just a few weeks in, I can already say, well, shit, it would have taken us 2 years to talk to all these people if we were even able to get to them. Yeah. And we did it in 2.5 weeks. No, that's nice. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. And then and just the fact that you guys aren't 2 weeks in completely killing yourself, like you're taking some time-life balance to get out and spend time with the team, but get out of the office and go think about stuff. That's very, very cool. So. Yeah,
well, it's that again, that's something that the TechStars folks are putting together for us. They see that and they're like, yeah, everybody does need to catch their breath a little bit. Yeah. I know that you're talking to a few other teams here, so you'll hear some great stories about different people's companies and how they think about sort of holistic wellness. And for us, it really is going outside and playing. That's what Buddy's all about.
Yeah, very cool. Charles Merritt, CEO of Buddy. Thanks for being on, and we will get a bunch of stuff in the show notes for folks that are going to go out on a bike ride this week, a hike this week, and definitely check out Buddy. It may save you some hassle and time at the emergency ward if you have a bad day. So thank you very much,
Great.
man.
Thank you so much.
You bet. All right. Thank you very much to Charles Merritt, CEO of Buddy. And now we want to introduce you to a company called Enroll Hero. Enroll Hero is focused on trying to make it simpler for you to get Medicare insurance. For anybody in their late 50s, early 60s who's eligible for Medicare insurance, many of them will realize that finding the right insurance at the right price, making sure that you get the right coverage between all the different parts and plans, making sure that you're getting the right coverage for your state can be complicated. And Enroll Hero is trying to make that far simpler, far more intelligent, and make sure that you're getting the right coverage at the right price. So I want to introduce you to Enroll Hero. And we're back. We are here in Raleigh, not in the massive studios as we normally are, but we're over here at the MetLife building as part of the TechStars program. We've been having a chance to talk to a number of really, really interesting startup companies that are growing as part of this program that MetLife is doing with TechStars to really focus on disrupting the insurance industry, making the insurance industry easier for people to engage with, changing the ecosystems that are around that. And very excited to have Mark Lee, who is one of the co-founders of Enroll Hero. So, Mark, welcome. Good to see you. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Bryan.
So, you and your co-founder are going after the Medicare market, basically insurance for anybody over 65 years old. 10,000 people a day are hitting that milestone. Give us a little bit of background of the story that led you guys to say, we want to go, reshape how people engage with getting this insurance.
Sure, yeah. We're not 65, and so It's not a problem that we normally face. And certainly one of the things that we see in our market, which I think is called the silver economy. I've heard it called. But entrepreneurs generally like to solve problems that are in their own backyard or that they face every day. Right. And this is not in our immediate kind of touch points. But about 2 years ago, Bryan's mom turned 65, and she had this terrible experience with a door-to-door Medicare salesperson. Mm-hmm. Now, it's 2016, you wouldn't really think that still happened, right. But it did. And so Bryan went to try to help her. Now, for his mom, who has chronic conditions and other health issues, this is the most important thing for her. Right. And so when Bryan went in to try to help, he realized just the sheer complexity and how impossible it is for anyone to navigate, really. Right. And so he left there thinking, wow, this is a big problem. Yep. And it was around the same time that I moved back to San Diego. So we're high school buddies from AP Computer Science a long time ago. So I caught up with Bryan, started working out of his office, and we started exploring this problem. Right. And that's how we found that not only was it a problem with anyone that was entering Medicare, but that it's an increasingly important problem because of all the baby boomers retiring.
Right. Yeah, I know. From my own personal experience, my wife went through this with her, essentially with my mother-in-law, and trying to sort it through. There's, Medicare is not just one thing. There are multiple parts. There's parts that's, your doctor and your health. There's a prescription part. There's a bunch of things, and the options and the things that are available can be very good, but they can also be very complicated. And for a lot of people that are on fixed incomes, making the right decision, the wrong decision, could end up being a third of your income or a quarter of your income or something. So, so it's great that you guys are going to tackle, like you said, as an entrepreneur, you want to go tackle a very large challenge, and ultimately it's a challenge that people are all going to deal with, whether it's them directly or their family supporting them. Yeah,
absolutely. And we went live at the beginning of the year with our beta, and for us it's a business. And we're trying to build something that's sustainable, but at the same time, like the real pleasure we get out of it is when we get people that we've helped come back to us and say, everyone told me how difficult this would be. What a terrible experience I'm going to have to go through. And it was really easy. You made it so simple.
Right.
And we love hearing that. And there's a human touch to it. And especially in the beginning, like we met everyone. We met registered nurses and authors and doctors and every walk of life.
Right.
And they all have different perspectives on it, and we learn about them.
Right.
And that's helped us to shape our business and product to date.
Yeah, and that's the thing I always find is in talking to, whether it's people that are in the medical profession, doctors and nurses, like you said, people that want to give care, and then people that need to get the care, they're all just wishing, I wish this was simpler, right? Like the doctors and nurses, they want to give good care, they want to help people, and other people are like, I don't want to get ripped off, I don't want to make a mistake. And talk a little bit, you and I were talking before we turned the microphones on, just a little bit about the challenges of starting a company in this space, because it is, it's highly regulated, there's lots of pieces and parts. What are some of those elements in terms of what you have to do to be a provider of insurance, and things you have to do in the state, who you have to register with? Give folks a sense of just how complex it is behind the scenes.
Well, sure. Medicare is the most complex thing that we've ever had the pleasure of working on. Mm-hmm. And we've worked in lots of regulated industries, including payments and transportation, things like that. So just for us, and then for clarity, we're a broker of insurance. So what that means is we are licensed in the state of California to sell insurance.
Yep.
And what that means in practice is you have to test for it. You get this California test that you take to get licensed. And then we're also, there's certifications and there's contracting that you have to do with each insurance company that you want to sell policies for.
Sure.
And it's all overseen by the CMS. We were actually at the White House earlier, and there was a conference for Medicare claims data access to that.
Yeah.
And where the administrator for the CMS spoke, and they know what the opportunity, they know what the issues are with the systems. And for us, they're navigating all that regulation is part of the game, and it's part of the business. And we have, we've become experts. We think we probably know Medicare better than 99%, and we have support from other people that have done it longer than we have for that 1%.
Right.
But there's lots of intricacies, and as you mentioned, there are lots of parts and letters and things like that. We just try to make sense of that and kind of reduce weeks of research down into minutes is our goal.
And you guys do something that's a little bit unique. It's, obviously you want to simplify it for people so they know what's the best thing to buy, the most appropriate. But you take not just here's your monthly payment that you make, but you take more of a total cost perspective. Talk about why you think about it that way, and do people understand the idea that, like, you don't just pay for the insurance, but it's, all the co-pays and all the other stuff that you have to factor in. Talk about kind of the thought process behind that thinking.
Yeah, one of the things that we found pretty early on is that monthly premiums don't mean that much.
Yeah.
Because, in fact, in California, there are lots of $0 monthly premium plans. Mm-hmm. So you don't pay anything per month. But what we found was that, let's just take an example of like X-rays. Mm-hmm. There's some plans you can be on, it'll be $15. Some will be $25, $50. Some are 20% of cost.
Yeah.
And so it makes it pretty impossible to compare apples to apples without creating a really, really complex spreadsheet.
Right.
Which is kind of how our business started, actually, was that.
Yeah.
And so what we do is we use a predictive engine as part of our recommendation engine. We predict what is the healthcare usage that someone's going to have over the span of a year, and then we calculate what the cost will be across every plan based on the characteristics of the plan.
Gotcha.
We call this total cost, and we think that it's more of a apples to apples comparison rather than just looking at the monthly premium, which doesn't represent your entire cost.
Right. And for a lot of people, they don't understand the connection between those two. Sometimes they'll think, oh, well, like you said, if this one's zero, that must be the best one because, quote unquote, it looks like it's free and so forth.
Yeah, exactly. I think the bottom line is it's impossible to compare different health insurance plans on your own. It's just, you have to make so many calls to get the information and build a model yourself. It's just not something humans are built to do.
Right. So you shared your story about your co-founder Bryan with his mom trying to sort things out. I mentioned my wife went through the same thing. I'm sure there are literally millions of people that are going through that. As you're trying to break into the market, you're trying to become well known. Do you target that at the 65-year-old crowd? The 60 to 65-year-old crowd that are moving into it. They might have to do it themselves, or do you target their kids and their families who are going to be helping them, or do you have to target both of them to be well known?
Yeah, it's a great question, and something that we've thought about a lot. And the answer to what we do today is we just try to reach the people turning 65.
Yeah.
And the reason is that we can get to them because there's this forcing function of turning 65.
Yeah.
And so we can target based on age. The other reason is that they're also very tech savvy now.
Right.
And one way I like to think about it is Steve Jobs, if he were alive, would be 63 years old. Mm-hmm. So he's knocking on the door of Medicare.
Yeah.
And Oprah turns 65 this year. And so we're past the point of people retiring, not being tech savvy. Now they are, and they expect more, and they're also very capable.
Right.
Going the other way, trying to target their kids, they call them the sandwich generation. They're still taking care of their kids, right, and they're taking care of their parents. They're probably in the best position to take care of both.
Yeah. No, and it makes sense. I mean, it's lots and lots of grandparents now are on Facebook because they want to follow their grandkids, and so, like you said, they are becoming much more tech savvy. They've got a computer; they're able to do these types of things. And I'm curious, as a you guys are in beta. You're trying to grow the company. California is obviously the largest, one of the largest states in the union in terms of population.
Right.
Is your thinking, hey, we just want to be really successful in California, or are you always in the back of your mind saying, how do we do this, extend it to lots of other states and so forth? How do you balance that as a founder?
Well, it's difficult. We think about it as like you want to own your own backyard first.
Sure.
And so we're from California, so it's easy for us to get, our first 4 policies were our parents' policies.
Sure.
So, but yes, like for us to grow, we have to expand geographically into other states, and as a founder, it's difficult to think about that because growth for growth's sake isn't really what we're going after. We're trying to improve, at this stage of our company, we're trying to improve the unit economics. And so California helps us to refine our costs and our acquisition models. But yes, like geographical expansion is the way we're going to get to 1 million customers.
Right.
And so we have to figure out what's the most efficient way and what is the sequencing of states for us to enter.
Right. Excellent. I'm going to ask you one last question. We were talking beforehand. You moved back to San Diego. You were working with somebody who had, I think you mentioned sort of a looser incubator, like facilities for you and so forth. Now you're part of the TechStars program. Just kind of contrast for people maybe that haven't built their own company. Why would you, why is there sometimes the timing of, working with one set of people at a certain time and a different set of people at a different time? Kind of walk us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so we feel really fortunate to have worked with two of the top accelerators in the country. So the first one was in Santa Monica, and it's called Mucker Labs.
Okay.
And we think that it's an unstructured accelerator in that they don't fill every day of your 3 months with programming. So it's a lot more you structure it yourself.
Right.
And the partners there, Will and Eric, are awesome. And you get space to work with all the other companies. And for us as a company, we went there and had our beta launch. And so the advice that we're able to get and the companies that helped us kind of grow was immense.
Yeah.
And of course the network there was great. Now TechStars is a completely different game.
Yeah.
TechStars is an accelerator. In my opinion, great for us after getting a product out, post revenue, and trying to grow from 100 happy customers to 1 million.
Yeah.
Like for us, it's been incredible for that.
Yeah.
Whereas the unstructured, more the incubator style of accelerator worked for us because it gave us time to explore and gave us time to refine and figure out who our customers are without trying to grow for growth's sake.
Right.
It allows us to better understand our customers.
Right. Do it the right way at the right time.
Yeah.
I'll ask one last question now that I'm thinking about this. And again, timing is everything in things. There's a lot of talk politically, without making a political statement, about Medicare for all as being maybe where the country, maybe an approach. Is that something that even crosses your mind and you go, oh, wow, that would be great timing-wise? Or you're just like, I can't think about that. It'll happen if it happens, but I can't control it?
No, the way we think about it is, we don't control that. So we try not, we don't get too deep into it. But personally speaking, Medicare for all, especially for someone that's lived in London for 10 years, would be amazing for the country. I think it would be amazing for people to not have to think to worry about it. I don't see it coming in near future.
Sure.
For our business, I do think that we, as a business, I believe that people 65 and over always need to make complex decisions.
Yeah.
And our business is about making retirement smarter and helping them with those decisions. And it might be health insurance, but it can be other things.
Yep.
And so that's the way we think about it. We're helping people retire, make smarter decisions.
Right. Absolutely. Excellent. Well, folks, definitely if you are in this space where, your folks, your parents, your family members are looking into it, trust me, it is a complicated process. Definitely take a look at Enroll Hero. Mark, thank you so much for the time today. Best of luck with growing the company. Best of luck with the process here at TechStars. And thank you for being on today.
Awesome. Thank you, Bryan.
Thank you to Mark Lee, CEO of Enroll Hero. And now I want to introduce you to the final company that we're going to have highlighted on today's show. It's a company called FitBliss. FitBliss is really focused on trying to be millennialized well-being, really looking at how do we bring together all of the different devices and things that you use today, bring that together in your workplace for both workers as well as for employers, bring that together in a simplified tool, make it simpler for you to track your health, make it simpler for your employer to encourage you to live a healthy lifestyle, and do that through tools that you use on a day-to-day basis, the devices that you use on a day-to-day basis. So let's get to know FitBliss. Thank you to Mark Lee, CEO of Enroll Hero. And now I want to introduce you to the final company that we're going to have highlighted on today's show. It's a company called FitBliss. FitBliss is really focused on trying to be millennialized well-being, really looking at how do we bring together all of the different devices and things that you use today, bring that together in your workplace for both workers as well as for employers, bring that together in a simplified tool, make it simpler for you to track your health, make it simpler for your employer to encourage you to live a healthy lifestyle, and do that through tools that you use on a day-to-day basis, the devices that you use on a day-to-day basis. So let's get to know FitBliss. We are back here in Raleigh at the MetLife building. We have been doing a whole bunch of really interesting conversations as a part of the TechStars program. MetLife got together with TechStars. They said, hey, we want to go look at what's happening disruptively in our industry, which obviously we love. They wanted to understand, how innovation happens because obviously they want to grow their company, but they're looking at other unique ideas. And so, we've been doing this for all day. We've had a chance to talk to some really, really interesting companies, and we're going to talk to another one here right now. So very excited to talk to the CEO of FitBliss, Naveed Rastegar. Thanks for being on. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. I'm doing well. Thanks for having us.
Good. So we've been talking for a while, just off, kind of off microphone. You and I have some similarities. We both were at Cisco for a while.
Yeah.
You've been going through this transition of, you were in the network space and hardware space. You eventually got into the software space. You were at Salesforce.com, and now you're going out as a founder. Give us a little bit about your background and especially what makes you so sort of passionate about FitBliss.
Yeah, absolutely. So background, obviously, as we mentioned even before, it's I started my career at Cisco. Actually, I started my career as a web developer at Intel, and I found that I love technology.
Yeah.
And I, Silicon Valley, born and raised, and my dad's an engineer, and decided that I wanted to get more into tech. And what I found was my sweet spot was I wanted to see where it all started, and Cisco was a great opportunity that was presented to me, and I took that opportunity, and I learned a lot about how the internet is powered, right. So the infrastructure really, and then I decided that I wanted to learn about how software was created and the best software companies in the world, and that led me down the path of working at Salesforce.com, which I got to learn so much from so many incredible people, and decided at that point in time, I wanted to go and start my own software company.
Yeah.
And what my passions were at the time, and still to the date, is seeing how the success I had was even created at Salesforce and Cisco both. And what I noticed was a lot of how I lived my life. So the way I would exercise regularly, or I would eat well, or I meditate every day. And I went to meditation school for 5 years while I was working at Salesforce. And I found how it drove a positive impact in my career. And I thought to myself, I work at Salesforce.com, which is a great CRM, number one in the world, in the cloud. And why couldn't we show how our wellness activities and the way we live our lives has have an impact on, like, let's just say sales performance, which I was enrolled in sales.
Right.
So I decided that I wanted to combine those two passions that I had and deliver a solution on Salesforce.com that allows people who are interested in this at least to start to see how those aspects of our lives are correlated, our careers and our livelihoods.
Yeah. No, and I think it's interesting. One of the things that we see over and over again, not just here today, but with companies we talk to all the time, is the companies that tend to end up being very, very successful are the ones who say, look, I had a problem in the space I was in, right? Or I was working on something and I couldn't find a solution for it. So I built the tool that I wanted, right? I built the thing that I wanted, and then I realized that there was, hundreds, thousands, millions of people like me that may want this. And so, finding people that ultimately the problem they tried to solve was something that they're intimately, understand is always a really good starting point.
Yeah, that was. We hope that's us. It's early to say, but we appreciate. We see the stories, right? And for us, for me specifically, when I started the company, I knew that to be a top performer in sales means you have to be willing to work relentlessly, persevere through hard times, which is the challenging aspects of sales and service roles.
Right.
90% of the day, you're going to hear the word no. And so when someone calls a call center, they're never going to tell you you're doing well.
Right.
So understanding that persona and knowing that I was that persona, I still am as a CEO of this company.
Yeah.
You have to figure out ways to personalize your own wellness to be able to persevere through challenging times.
Yeah, absolutely. So give us a little bit about FitBliss as a company, what you're going after, the segment of the market, who your customers are, who you're really trying to ultimately help.
Yeah, great question. So when I left Salesforce in 2014, my main focus was to deliver an app for the Salesforce ecosystem. So Salesforce has 200,000 customers worldwide, 88 of the Fortune 100 today use Salesforce.com. So we knew the market was big, and it's getting bigger. They do 25% growth quarter over quarter, right? Fastest software company ever in growth. So we knew there was an audience that will adopt a solution that's CRM related, right? If they made that investment. So we knew that there was a market. Now we needed the idea that would fit the market. Right. So we built the wellness app on Salesforce.com, on their platform, so it was native. And the reason we found that to be an opportunity was Salesforce customers had access to what they call the Salesforce App Exchange, which is like a business marketplace for business apps. Right. And they would look on there to find technologies. So we thought, let's build our app. Let's put this idea on the App Exchange, and let's see what happens.
Right. Yeah, we'll take advantage of an ecosystem and a system that and that's important.
Absolutely. So we did that, and we were closing a customer almost every month starting 2015 where we went live. Yeah. And we got to, I think like 3 or 4 customers. It was like one a month, January, February, March, April. And we realized that there was an opportunity here, but with growth comes pain.
Yeah, sure.
So we learned a lot about where our product was failing. Right. And we had to deliver a solution that would make sense to our customers. Right. If they wanted to, let's just say, renew with us, they need to see value. They were bought into the vision and the idea. So we knew that we needed to sort of, start building or rebuilding that will focus more on what the customers wanted. Right. So we did that, and now we're here at MetLife with TechStars, and there's a big opportunity that's with the insurance space. Yep. When you're starting to deliver wellness products, usually the first thing people think about is, well, then I can save on my insurance, for instance, because I'm healthier. Yep. The problem with our space, though, was people weren't using wellness products. Right. So the engagement wasn't there to provide a return on investment. So there was a disconnect. So innovation is needed, or disruption is needed. Yeah. Or someone just needs to hack this somehow.
Right. Yeah. And I think the way I sort of understand it, I think about it from me personally is, my employers always have some sort of thing, call it a perk, call it a program, whatever, that ultimately says, hey, there's sort of a win-win we'd like to achieve. One is, obviously, we would like you to be healthy so you're productive and you're doing well in your job and you'll be here for a long period of time. The flip side of that is the healthier you are, the lower our insurance costs become. And if we could make that work, it's a win-win. And unfortunately, in a lot of cases, they probably work like crazy to make that program work, and employees just forget about it, or they don't use it, or it's not a part of their day-to-day life. And I have to imagine that's part of what you're trying to resolve, make that win-win more tangible.
Absolutely. So people ask, why did you build your company on Salesforce? There's AWS out there. Sure. There's Microsoft. There's all these other infrastructures you can build on. And I simply responded by telling them, if I can have 1 by 1 inch of the screen that an employee doesn't have to Alt-Tab to go to, or navigate a new navigation, I think I'm winning. Yeah. And the reason I say this is because today, if you look at the employee, they have probably 1 or 2 tabs open every single day because that's where they live and breathe. Right. If you're asking them to add another tab, you're creating friction. Right. And employees, and I'm just thinking this more philosophically or psychologically, you're asking them to do something that's unnatural. Right, right. And that's not related to their job role. Or they don't see an immediate impact, for instance. Yeah. And that's why wellness programs have notoriously failed for so many years. Again, like you said, it was just now a perk versus a must-have. Right. So how do we create must-haves? And we believe we have a unique solution to do that. Right.
And looking at the product, obviously, products evolve, but in essence, it feels to me like it has sort of a similar look and feel to what I might interact with, say, like a financial planner. They go, here's some options, but really here's some guidance on the actions you should take, and these are sort of the results we expect you to have. There's a ton of time when I'm just like, I know I need to run. I know I need to eat better. I wish somebody would just tell me what those things are. And I feel like that's kind of a path you guys are going down in terms of wellness. It's let me give you a picture of what things will look like and suggest for you how to be successful in that.
Absolutely. That's where a lot of the data is starting to show. So we integrate with all of the most popular fitness apps and wearables in the market.
Yep.
So companies like Fitbit, Apple Health, Google Fit, and the list goes on. And what we're starting to do is understand your habits, right? And we tell the employee, like, if we can help you, would you be willing to would you be willing to be helped?
Yeah.
And a majority of the time, employees are inclined to say, well, tell me how you're going to do this. And we say, well, answering your question is, here's what you can be doing that's shown better productivity results.
Yeah.
And if I can help you hit your number, for instance, if you're a sales rep or if you're a customer success agent and you're feeling emotionally distraught, if I can just make you feel a little bit better, so you don't have a cascading effect with other, calls that are coming in, and you get promoted due to these sort of things, or you get rewarded or recognized publicly, you're more inclined to use our product. So to your point, it's nice just to have someone tell me what I need to be doing based on what's good for me.
Yeah.
Or maybe giving me a couple of options just so I have that, control over it, which is what we're doing. We're giving just a couple options and allowing the employees to make those decisions that's best for themselves.
Yep. Every company, whether it's a new company or an emerging company, is always trying to find product market fit. Right? I may have great technology, but if the right people aren't using it, you've missed. Right.
Totally.
You guys, we were talking earlier. You guys are kind of going through some transition. The initial focus was very much on salespeople because you have a background in that. You knew if you could get that right. You're starting to sort of transition or pivot. Talk about just the thought process of maybe why you're doing that.
Yeah, great. That hits home right now. So we started our company on Salesforce. We're still on Salesforce. Our thought was go after Salesforce people, our sales reps. We went live. We started getting customers, and the first thing that we started getting pulled to was the HR buyer, which led us away from the sales teams. It led us to the total general population. Yeah. Now, we still did well, but we hit a glass ceiling. Yeah. And the glass ceiling was lots of players in our space, in the corporate wellness space. So now we're back here 3 years later, and we're trying to still figure this out. Do we go back to our original vision, which was focusing on salespeople, or do we go with what we've been selling to, which is corporate wellness, meaning every employee? And now we're back here at MetLife, and what we're seeing is a great opportunity to help the customer experience. Okay. And where does the customer experience start? With insurance companies? It actually starts with the call center agent who is taking these inbound calls every day. And we realize that there's a lot of burnout that happens with these call center agents, and there's no technology to create like an intervention. Yeah. So we're seeing that our product can hit that market fit. So we're starting some pilots. We're starting to talk more about it, do more research, and there's a better response we're getting in this area. Yeah, and that's something that you guys got really out of the program, out of the mentorship of the program. Absolutely. So I'm not sure how much people know, but TechStars puts you through 1 month of rigorous mentor meetings, talking about your company, getting an array of feedback, and what you take out of that is maybe one or two things that is consistent across, let's just say 60 to 70% of the people you speak with. Yeah. And what we took out was, one is you should be focusing on even a tighter demographic, because your industry is so broad. Yeah. If you want to deliver, you have your product already built on Salesforce. So when it comes to a platform already invested in, you need to double down there. Right. And then finally, you need just to find early adopters to prove your hypothesis that a healthier and happier call center agent will provide better customer experience, for instance, and have a lower burnout rate. Yeah. And that's where we're at. Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, logically, it makes sense where you go, if somebody's customers aren't happy and then the call center agent is grumpy or tired, like if you could connect that better, you're going to drive sales or you're going to drive better customer. Like logically, it all makes sense. But until you dig into that sort of stuff, you're like, okay, I hadn't thought about it. I hadn't even thought about it, period, and so forth. So very cool. I'm going to ask you sort of one last thing before we wrap it up. Tagline is, millennialize your well-being, which I thought was cool. And
there's a part of me that's like, okay, the millennialism has whatever stigma that people have, but then you realize like everybody's got a phone in their pocket, everybody's wearing wearable devices, and it's really just about making, the things that you do every day easy to plug together. It's, yes, the tech is the millennial tech or it's notifications, but it's just making it easier for everybody.
Agreed. If I were to term it, I'd just call it efficiency.
Yeah.
People are just becoming more and more efficient.
Yeah.
Questions that you have are being answered more quickly, more intelligently, and we believe we're millennialized in that form. And I totally agree with how you described millennialized, because that is what our focus is.
Right. Well, and at the end of the day, all of us, whatever job we're in, we're still trying to be as good as we can possibly be. We're trying to figure out how do we get 1 or 2% better, and any little thing that can help us, whether it's how we eat, how we sleep, whatever is going to potentially help in that category. So
and we're here just to quantify that. Yeah,
and the fact that you guys are passionate about trying to make that a part of what people do every day is very, very cool.
Thank you.
Well, listen, Navid from FitBliss, you guys are taking off. There's some very interesting things that are coming down the pipe. We may have to talk again very soon.
Yes.
But thank you for the time today. Very interesting space, and really interested in sort of how you guys have evolved as a company, evolving the technology, evolving the market fit, and something I think everybody can kind of aspire to figure out. How do you take something you're passionate about, get into the market, learn from the market, and keep evolving over time?
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. Thank you. Thank you, Navid Rastegar, CEO of FitBliss. Folks, with that, I want to wrap up the show. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Buddy, Enroll Hero, and FitBliss today. Hope you enjoyed the format of today's show. Hope you got a chance to really kind of, get some perspective on what goes on in these incubators, the different perspective that founders have. I think you're going to see that there are lots of different types of founders, lots of different backgrounds that they come from. And as you're seeing, they're really attacking different parts of the marketplace. And, as we always try and do in the Cloudcast, we're trying to educate you. We're trying to show you different perspectives. And so we hope you enjoyed this format. We're going to do a similar format next week with 3 more new companies that are part of the TechStars program that are working with the MetLife Innovation Accelerator program here in Cary, North Carolina. So with that, as always, thank you so much for listening this week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Cloudcast. Please visit thecloudcast.net to find more podcasts, show notes, and everything social media, and visit acloud.guru for all your cloud training needs.